a better Nigeria? Is it a myth, or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Hi, my name is Onari, and this is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. On today's episode, we continue with our special guest, Mr. Segun Bolagun, who is a school administrator at the Kingdom Citizens International School and the Kingdom Citizens College, Jos. Mr. Leo Shunom, our banking consultant, and Mr. Steve Ibe, who is a manager at Razor Sharp Boutique based in Jos. We also have Obi, Adams, and our resource person, Dr. Reju. Welcome back, everyone. Last week, we started talking about business financing. We emphasized on the need to start small, the need to look for partnership as opposed to looking for capital to start a business. Today, we continue with this line of discourse, starting with Obi Brown. Please go on with your question.
All right, let's talk about partnerships.
Okay.
Although you have said it a lot of times, like look for people with like minds, you know. But now let's say that sometimes people with like minds are not the people who have the money. And the people who have the money are not always people of like minds. And sometimes when they put that money in fact, because these are the stories we hear all the time, they will put you under pressure to double that profit. You know, it's not like it's wrong, okay, to double profit, but it's just the fact that sometimes, you know, you get into partnerships with people who sort of see things differently. And put under pressure to do things that are a little bit alien to what your value system is. How, you know, would you suggest that we handle that?
That's a reality of life, you know. And again, we have that kind of a situation in our society because of the narratives. They will tell you they don't have the money because they've looked at it. This guy is not ready to give me a return on what I want. But, you know, if you really want to meet a need, if that's the motivation for going into business, there's a place of patience. There's a place of, in that your patience, there's also the place of resilience. You can wait, right? What you are under pressure to do, we might begin to question the motive. What you want so badly, you are prone to compromise. What you believe you need to do, right? There is even a preoccupation. I told somebody who wanted to go into music, you know, that why don't you go and look for a job and put something aside for that business, for that music, and give yourself a particular kind of time. That the reason you are working is because you want to fund your music initiative. Right? So you want to start a business, go get a job. And keep putting something aside gradually, right? And then you know, maybe you begin to do the business and the job together. It gets to a point where you can no longer combine both, and then you ease into it. You see, the problem with our society is that we're so much in a hurry. We want to start from the end. We want to start big. I mean, somebody who wants to go into business, the first thing we do is to go and print the complimentary card, chairman. Your complimentary card should be somebody asking you, how do I reach you? Right? And then you first of all write your phone number on a sheet of paper and give the person. The money you are going to use to print a complimentary card. You know, so those are the kind of things. We're so much in a hurry. There's somebody we are looking at who is already big, you know. I had a friend who went to South Africa together and he saw this woman who was doing everything the guy has ever dreamt of doing. Right? This woman has a whole street of a business that they do events and all those kind of things. He trains people and all those kind of things. And this guy was sad. I called him and said, how old are you? He said, I'm 35. Do you know how old that woman is? That woman is about 30 years older than you. You don't know how long she's been working. Now you have just seen your dream. Somebody is living it and you are dying. And you are dying. You say you need to pay your dues. You need to pay. We need to learn that also.
I think that's very critical in our society, you know, where
societal acceptance, and what people say about you is very, very critical and weighs people down. So, young people you may need to stress that very seriously, because you're talking with someone that wants to go into business, wants to go into some production, and it's talking of 3 million.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 3 million? How many do you want to produce? So he's going to even buy the things you are doing. You are going to produce for 3 million.
You've not even done your market analysis.
Yeah.
You've not
So
even.
I think that needs to be stressed.
Businesses today face a challenge of wrong narratives. And those wrong narratives that champion among them is this issue of I want to make profit, I want to be big,
I want to be a millionaire.
I want to be big, and all those kind of things. And the only thing that does is it compromise on standard. The product you are going to develop is going to be hogwash. You've heard of stories of people going to India to go and fabricate their own Panadol. They put so many milligrams on it, but that is not the real milligram, and you know the effect of that. There was a time in this country when a whole generation of children born at a particular time had polio because they brought a fake full polio vaccine here. There was a time in this country where they brought in fake petrol that a lot of... Then I remember I was using a Daewoo race and it was affecting Daewoo. The moment profit becomes the motive, it will run contrary to what business is supposed to do to serve society. You will injure society.
Okay, from my own experience, you said that people should get jobs first. Go get jobs and then it will help you. There are some kind of jobs that you will get and it will take the whole of your time. And people are not really disciplined enough to maybe give up their nights. It will take the whole of your time. Are you really saying that? Get a job and leave?
It's not, it doesn't work for every situation. I'm saying getting a job with a view of starting a business is a way of business finance. Right? It works for some people. Right? And while you're doing that job, you want to give your best for your employer. Right? You don't want to steal the time of your employer because you won't want anybody to steal your own time too by the time you start employing people. So you give your time to it, but you've already answered the question when you say some people are not disciplined enough to give their nights. There are things you can do in some particular seasons. Right? And it's not the moment you get on that job that you start doing that business. What you are doing is just putting money aside. Right? You are not doing the business. Maybe by the time you are even doing that business, you might have gotten a bit promoted on that job and you have a bit of more control over your time. You see, these things are dynamic, right? They're dynamic. The time you need for that business at certain times in that journey will not in any way jeopardize what you are doing for your employer. And many times, I am all for openness. I'm all for integrity. Those are the culture of business. You want to let your superior know exactly what you are up to. Sometimes it doesn't work for you. I know somebody in this town who wanted to start a pharmacy. He runs a good pharmacy in this town now. And I gave him that advice. And he spoke because he was working for another pharmaceutical company, for another pharmacy. And he told the boss that he was going to start a pharmacy very soon. I'm saying this, that doesn't work. That you want to be honest doesn't mean that you are going to get people who are honest. So it's still a risk. It's a challenge. He told the guy that he was going to start a pharmacy too very soon. And the guy said, oh, that's very good. That's very good. I'm going to be, in fact, I can give, because this bigger pharmacy was even doing wholesale. He said, I'm going to be giving you goods. I'm going to be doing all that. He fired the guy a month after. He fired him, that this guy wants to be my competitor. So those things are there. But today that pharmacy is standing. He has 2 branches in this city. So you be faithful, you be truthful, you be ethical. What you get in return you can't control. Right? But you want to do that not to please anybody, but you want to use that to please yourself. Okay. So most of the time it works against you, but it doesn't make it wrong.
And sir, this thing you're saying is very valid, because I was talking with Stephen, who is into boutique business, and we're discussing that one of the reasons why, people who sell things generally, you get very good products from the US, and your competitor gets from China, and he sells them at 3 times lower, 2 times lower than what you sell them at. And people all go to him, because they say he's better, that he's selling it cheaper, you are just too expensive. And so you start losing business. And that's one of the reasons why we have a lot of fake and substandard goods.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, there are also people who want to look for the original and are willing to pay the right price for it.
Yeah.
So
You always know that if your motive for going to business is accurate in the way we have defined it, it's only a matter of time. You will carve out a niche for yourself. Don't let what's happening in the industry, in the environment shape you. Let what sets you out shape you. Define your business properly. You're going into a boutique business. If somebody asks you what you do, the way you describe it it reminds you that, no, I make people look good. I'm not selling so that I can make money. I make people look good. I want people to look good. That's why I'm in business. So your real, because remember the way we define work? Work is any productive activity that serves society, that brings fulfillment to the person working. So that's the way. So when your real profit, you see your customer. Maybe you walk into a bank and you see your customer, right? A staff of that bank is donning the shirt you sold. And you said, yeah, that's it. Because somebody will see the shirt on him. Oh, I love your shirt. Oh, yeah, it's from Steve's shop. Yeah. And that's it. That's advert not paid for.
Let me take us off the issue you are talking about. But I want to go back to what you initially talked about, starting up business. I see that to start up business, you need to cut your costs to the barest minimum.
Absolutely.
And then you have talked about how you started a daycare. What's your advice to young people out there that really have good ideas, beautiful ideas? How do you advise them on cost control, for a startup business?
Yeah, I mean, the first advice I would give is be ready to work hard. Right? Be ready to work hard. You are going to be a one-man team. Yeah, you are going to be a one-man team. And then number 2, be ready to start as small as possible. As small, like I said, that daycare started with 1 child. That's to see a forest in a seed. You need to first of all confront that narrative of big is better. Right? Big name is, no, big is not necessarily better. Growth is not all growth that is good. Cancer is growth. Right? Don't try to prove something to somebody. Prove something to yourself. Prove a point to yourself. Because I remember the ride that we gave to the daycare then, home away from home. Home away from home. That when those kids come there, right, they want, and we started seeing that this boy that was the first person in the daycare, there's always a fight when the mom comes for him. He will tell the mom, sit down. This is where I'm not going home. So that's the way it is. That to me gives us more joy than any other thing. So start small, ready to work hard, ready to do things excellently. Don't veer off your foundational philosophy of why you want to do that. Can you do it even for free? I'm not saying do it for free. Can you do it even if you are not being paid? Right? If you can do it, people will beg to pay you.
All right. So since Leo is already on this track, talking about startups, I want to, throw in, this question again about one of the things they say is very important about business, which is the business plan. What you want to do, when you want to do it, how much you think you're going to make, and things like that, the whole business plan. But we also know that the business environment is also very haphazard. And there's this tension about whether you really want to do a plan and all that. Maybe you also don't even have enough data to be able to do a good plan the way they have told you to. But what's the place of a business plan, and what's the place of that tenacity? And what's also the place of the dynamism?
Yeah, business plan is very, very crucial. Now, business plan is not necessarily producing a PowerPoint presentation or having a spirit-bound, well-written, kind of plan that you want to present to a group of business gurus, right? Can you talk about this, your business intention, in few words, right? That's a plan. Because in our society, people either don't plan, they underplan, or they overplan. There's somewhere in the middle, right? if you want to write a good business plan, especially today in this world where information has become so cheap, there are templates on the internet. Because to write a good business plan is that you must be able to answer all the critical questions. There are templates. If you Google it, there are templates there. If you answer all those questions, you come up with a good business plan. Right? But all the questions you are answering in that place, you might not even believe it. You might not even believe it. And again, downside, dynamics, like you said, most of those who drew the templates are in America or in Europe. So they drew those templates based on their own kind of environment. So business plan is critical. You don't want to talk to me, for instance, to come and partner with you in a business, and you can't effectively, in a very concise manner, articulate, talk about this business, right? I might not ask you for a paper, a spiral bound, or give me a PowerPoint presentation. That might not be it. So business plan is relative, depending on what you want to do. And sometimes some business plans can even be that business that you've done over time is what you are documenting. That becomes the plan. When you're going to write, for instance, the business plan of Study Lab, the one you have right now is futuristic. There's also a time you might want to write that business plan. Maybe you want to take it up another notch. An organization is asking you to do a business plan. Then it will be historical. It will be experiential. And then the experiential becomes the platform that you are stepping on without even you writing it there. That if this is what this guy can do, this is where they will take the decision on where they want to take it. I don't know if I'm making sense. Yeah. So business plan is relative. Business plan is the ability to be able to at least simply articulate this your business intention, this your vision. So it can be paper, it can be something, because it depends on the level. If this episode is for business startups, those plans must be as simple, as concise, as direct as possible. You might not have of the cash flow and all those kind of all the cash flow projection, but be able to say simply the service you want to render, the product you want to develop, in a very simple way. It shouldn't be something that is too complicated.
If you are just tuning in, this is Answers with Dr. Reju. Mr. Liu.
Okay. This starting small has always been a challenge. I noticed that we are hardly really patient to start small and grow the business. And recently I was gisting with a friend who just graduated from Lagos Business School, and he told me that they gave them 5,000 naira each to start up a business as their project. And I was wondering, because this guy, they spend over 1 million naira to pay their fees, and they gave them 5,000 naira to start a business.
Yeah,
and they're expected to write detail of the entire business. So, what would you say to some of us that are still young? We're still thinking big, and we are not ready to start small.
Yeah, if you read the story of Microsoft, there was a time that whole program was on the floppy disk at the back of Bill Gates' jeans. The whole of Microsoft, it was, and it was going from office to office trying to tell them, I have something. It's really the soul of business, that willingness. Even parents know that the joy of having a child is to watch them grow, right? It's just life, but because we have often seen business in terms of how visible, we want to develop a brand, but because you've not read their story. I was discussing with you guys, off air about when we did the cash flow of one, you can call it a shack. For those who live in Lagos, remember Oriyonri, where we used to eat in Lagos. We compared the cash flow of Oriyonri and the Mr. Big's outlet. Oriyonri Buka, generated more, right? Because that place is an all-comer. It's food, but that kind of place gives a lot of freedom. You can do all manner, like I was gisting with you guys. You need 3 hands to eat there. One to cover your bottle of Coke, another one to blow flies, another one to really do the eating. So, but this is a place where it can serve the people that Mr. Biggs will serve. It can also serve those that will never. They will look at Mr. Biggs from afar and they say, I can't afford it, without even going inside, because the place already has some measure of exclusivity. What am I trying to say in form of the advice here is that you want to midwife a business. You want to nurture it. That's what gives you fulfillment. That's something money cannot buy. So even if a Lagos business school will understand that it must have that kind of a seed kind of form to do something big, why didn't they give them $1 million? Because to give them 5,000 will require deep thinking. The moment they leave that classroom that day with that 5,000, the drive home will be different. Because everything they see now, they will begin to, why am I looking at that? What is the opportunity here? And the level of pressure, because I guess he said they gave them 5,000 for 3 months and turn in a particular report. Because it would have been easier if it's $1 million. I can begin to import some things from China. Right? But 5,000 puts you in a corner where you have to think. And because business starting up requires deep thinking. Requires deep thinking. And you see, it makes you human when you put in a position where you can really think. It gives you fulfillment. And when you see it grow and you look back, you heave a deep sigh of relief that, wow, this is what I've done. But with that 5,000, because of the caliber of people being given 5,000, it humbles them. They're able to really feel society. They're not doing something that's cosmetic. People that are going to reach are the real people in society. Most of the businesses that people fantasize about, not really doing any kind of thinking about, is something that's been working somewhere. But for 5,000, man, you will have to think. You will have to think. And what's going to come out of that will be creative. Will be very, very creative. And that's what you can patent. That's what you can actually make that this is mine. This is a product of some deep reflection. And if you look at it again, it will fill in all those kind of procedures that we have talked about in business. That kind of see a need, hone your skill, build partnership, and then design the product, design the service. So the soul is starting small. That's why I always advise people, thinking of going to business and you want to do supply is so inhuman. It's inhuman. Because it requires no thinking. You are not seeing any need. You don't need skill. You need to supply paper to one company, go to Rampam, buy it and supply. A drone can do it. You can program a drone, right? To fly to Rampam, they stock it, he will bring it back to the office. You don't need a human being to do that. So it's not, I would not advise young people to begin to look at business supplies. And if you have money, don't put money in supply business. It's even not a business, right? It requires no thinking. What we can draw from that is the place of that starting small. There is no alternative if you really want to get fulfilled in your business.
Now, let's say you do your due diligence, you start small, you apply all the basic things you're recommending now. I apply all the basic things you're recommending now, business culture, integrity, and all that. I see this thing leading me to a place where I will stand out as a business outfit and probably end up being a monopoly. Now, how do you envision a monopoly? How would you assent to that, or you think it doesn't have a place in business?
If you find yourself in a position where you monopolize the market, if you don't forget the founding values of that business, if you are still driven by the business culture that we spoke about, monopoly will not be, will not be negative. It won't have any adverse effect on society. But why monopoly is very negative is because, it begins to put you in a position where you're no longer challenged, where the motivation to improve is no longer there. I'll give an example of this airline in Nigeria, Arik. Arik has become the kind of monster that it is today, because of monopoly, because of monopoly, because they cover a lot of routes that other airlines don't. So there's really no challenge. You know, many of you here know my experience in the last week where about 3 or 4 flights was cancelled on me. And people will still fly them the next day. So because they provided that horrendous service, the reason people will still fly them the next day is because they don't have any other alternative. Now, because people will still fly them the next day, Arik won't see anything wrong in what they're doing. I'm sorry I have to mention Arik because I was pained. So that's the way it is. But if that big business will always remind itself of why it is in business, even if you are the only one providing that service, because you are not there to just for the sole purpose of competing. You are competing with yourself. The motivational switch is on the inside. You will keep going. The challenges of the business is there, but because you are as tall as the other person is short, then there is no motivation to continue to improve. The danger, the negative of monopoly, how monopoly destroys the business environment is that most businesses, they might start well with those values, they establish those cultures, but they get to a point where they begin to enjoy the success and there's no longer any motivation they forget the values. That business must put a structure in itself to continue to remind it of the values. Then it doesn't matter whether you're in a monopoly or not. In fact, some monopolies, I'll give an example that's very close to home. I spoke with a comedian, in Nigeria some few years ago. And he said that the apostle of the business of comedy in Nigeria is Alibaba. Right? That at a time, Alibaba wasn't allowing them to have business. But because of the magnanimity of Alibaba, he said, Alibaba will charge high so that the little ones will also have business. He wasn't trying to monopolize. Number one, he can't. He cannot, because he can't meet all the needs. If his drive is to make sure that people get entertained, it doesn't matter if he's the one. That's the right thinking person. So for others to have business, he charged high so that people won't be able to afford him, and then he opens the door for aspiring. That's a guy who has interest. What he wants is people entertained, not that he getting business. That's a good example, because the guy can monopolize it. He can even hire them and he send them in his name. Right? But there will be no motivation for excellence. There will be no motivation to keep improving, because those monopolies just become one gigantic business and they are just on a maintenance mode. But let's limit this to startup businesses. But you must always find yourself in a position where what sets you out, you must structure your business in such a way that you never forget it. Because success can make you forget. And they said that the greatest enemy of success is success.
Okay. Let's draw the curtains here. It's been an amazing time. Dr. Reju, thank you so much. You're always very insightful. And to our special guest, Mr. Ibe, Mr. Leo, and Mr. Shegun. Thank you. Thank you for being on the program today. Adams, thank you. And Mr. Obi, thank you for being on the program today. Give us a call or chat us on WhatsApp on 081-4456-9000. Check out our website and interact with us on www.answerswithdrreju.com. Like our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Reju, or send us an email at answerswithdrreju@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are @Dr. Reju Answers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Answers with Dr. Reju, where you can get all our episodes. Join us again on Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified.